Hello and namaskar viewers, I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's edition of the Business Talk with AJ. This is a weekly talk show based on the business stories where we bring you all the business stories that you need to know from all over the world, and of course some of the business stories that you may have missed, you perhaps can find it in this show, the Business Talk with AJ. And this is brought to you by Science CPA Services, a full-fledged accounting firm located in state of New Jersey with multiple locations. Science CPA Services, that's a place where you do your taxes right. And of course, for the personal taxes as well as corporate taxes, bookkeeping, any services that you need related to tax, they can help you out. They can also help you to guide you where to invest your money, so that way you can save money on your taxes and continue to file taxes right. And that's what Science CPA Services is all about. They can be reached at 908-380-6876 or visit their website sciencecpaservices.com. With that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. AJ Kumar of Science CPA Services to the show. AJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I appreciate the kind introduction.
Yes, very well. This is Science CPA Services. They have built a huge clientele based upon their credibility. And main thing is to do your taxes right and
Absolutely.
save on your taxes wherever that you can save. And that is the right thing to say, and that's exactly what I said. Now January is here, mid-January. Have you started getting busy?
Absolutely. The tax season is ramping up. A lot of people will be getting the W-2s now. 1099 deadline is January 31st. In February, we start filing a lot of business taxes. The tax filing deadline for all multi-member LLC, S-Corp, all the businesses is March 15th.
Correct.
So starting from January 25th to March 15th is extremely busy, and it's all focused on business taxes.
Now, there you go. It's going to be busy days, but you take time out and join us in our weekly show, the Business Talk with AJ, so that really helps. Let's begin with the stock market. Dow Jones, kind of roller coaster ride, because what's going to happen with the interest rate and what investors are expecting. Obviously that's not the same as coming from US government.
Absolutely. So if you remember, in the beginning of the year, the Dow Jones was increasing every day slightly, and we saw 11,000 plus. Now in last few days we have seen Dow Jones going down every day slightly. So as you rightly said, it's a roller coaster ride. A lot of people are still expecting the federal government to increase the interest rate in February by at least 25 basis points, if not 50. And the scare out in the market is that federal government will probably over tighten the inflation. The inflation is still increasing. The federal government is going out of the way to say even if the interest are not increased in the future, they will not be coming down at least in 2023. So we are expecting in 2023 the interest rate to remain higher in the same range and not to go down at least in the foreseeable future. And that creates a lot of anxiety, a lot of problems for the people, for the businesses who are dependent on taking a lot of money for their rotation, for funding the company, the working capital funding. And that's what creates the scare in the stock market.
Some of the key individuals in the business world are saying that the interest rates will rise above 5% because there is still, a quote, a lot underlying inflation, unquote.
Absolutely.
And that's coming from Mr. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan Chase CEO. Jamie Dimon believes interest rates could go higher than what the Federal Reserve currently projects, as inflation remains stubbornly elevated. So let's see what happens.
Absolutely. And that's what the scare is. That's why we are expecting the federal government to increase the interest rate to curb the inflation by at least 25 basis points, if not 50.
Yep. And at the same time, this person, Lyle Brainbard, I think that's the name, Vice Chair of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, sees high rates ahead, even with progress on inflation. So progress on inflation in the sense that maybe inflation is perhaps slowed down, or we're going to have a mild inflation or recession. We don't know yet, but that's what they're speculating. But even if in that situation, rates are going to be around 5% or could be higher than a 5%.
Higher.
All right, so that is the story this week. Now moving on, I want to connect this story with the stock market, is that Microsoft Microsoft is going to lay off 10,000 employees. That's the decision. You know why, AJ, that they had to take that? Because last 2 years, Microsoft payroll has increased 36%.
Absolutely.
And that is alarming figure on their books, and that's why they decided to lay off 10,000 people. And as I was reading a story before coming to the studio, JP Morgan, which announced a huge layoff last week, we talked about it.
Absolutely.
Even though they announced a huge layoff, they're going to hire some people also.
Well, this is how the business works. I mean, GM every year lay off 10%,
Yes.
and they hire some new. But when we see this news, 10,000 people, it's not 10%. Now it's going up, and it's not just Microsoft. We have been talking about such IT companies lay off every week in every episode. So this 10,000 people is going to create a huge expense. Microsoft is putting a charge of $1.2 billion because they have to pay the severance to these people. They have to pay some salaries to these people. They have to pay certain benefits to get rid of them. It's going to cost the company a huge amount of money, over $1 billion. And now the hiring will start again slowly, but they will not be hiring 10,000 people this year. So right now the market with the high interest rate, with the high inflation, and the job market becoming so uncertain is going to be a roller coaster ride,
Yes.
to say. So this is the time to sit on the cash, to save cash, not to do large investments.
That means, they're going to let people go because
Absolutely.
obviously they want to save money or whatever that is. But they're going to hire some people because work must go on. So work
Absolutely.
is there, and they expect that the work will increase over a period of time. So they want to hire fresh new people. And
And
maybe
not
some
just that.
out of 10,000 people, some of them perhaps are reaching a retirement age and whatnot.
That's true too. But every time it's a sine curve.
Yeah.
Whenever you let go people, you let go more than what you should. When you hire people, you hire more than what you should.
Correct.
So you over tighten the job market, and then after 3 months, 6 months, you realize I needed maybe not 10,000. I needed to let go 7,000, 8,000, and then you try to hire back some people.
So that's exactly what's happening. All right, let's move on to the next stories. Next story rather. Mortgage rate. The scare of mortgage rate is not that bad because mortgage rates were really up over and above 7%. But now slowly they have come down, and now they are steady around 6% rate of interest, and that has prompted a mortgage demand jumps about 28% in 1 week.
Absolutely. So the highest mortgage rate that we have seen a couple of weeks ago was 7.2%. Last week we saw the mortgage rate at 6.23%. It's not that low. 6.2%, 6.23 is still very high. But comparatively speaking, it's much lower than, and first it's not going up, second is going down, and it's much lower. 1% is a lot of money. when you
Yeah,
look
in
at the large
October,
score.
in October of last year, it hit 7%, a little bit
Absolutely.
above 7%.
Absolutely. So that's what creating the demand, the pent-up demand. People who are on the sideline, they are thinking maybe it's not going anywhere. Let's make the deal happen.
Correct, exactly. So that has also home builder. They're sitting on a lot of inventory because October, November, December, the last quarter of year 2022 was really, really slow. So now, home builders and developers, they are happy because people are coming out
Absolutely.
and then buying those houses, and that's what has made mortgages applications go up. Now, there are people who really work hard to become a millionaire and then eventually become a billionaire, and they really work hard because they have interesting concept, they found something unique and whatnot. But there are people also who are fake billionaire,
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
scammer.
talking about Justin Costello.
Yep.
Could plead guilty in $35 million fraud case.
So he was a fake billionaire. He will act up as a billionaire, go to rich parties, throw money around, have people invest money into his ventures or fake ventures, and then he will not return their money. It's not new. So when you have something that sounds too good to be true, you have to be careful. We talked about NRIA in one of the episode earlier.
Yes.
It was a similar story. They were giving 18%, 24% return to the consumer. They were giving 10%, 6% commissions to the person who was bringing this person. So think about it. This type of, the market does not produce 30% return. So if somebody is giving you this high return, sooner or later they will go out of business and you can lose money. So when you come across a situation which is too good to be true, you have to be careful about it.
All right, so that's, in other words, you call this kind of person a con man.
And it truly is.
They are the
Truly
con
is.
man artists.
We came across a client where the client was approached on Facebook to invest some money. and the client would be getting 50% return. The money will be doubled up in 2 years. The client started with 2,000, then they paid the client $1,000 immediately. The client was happy, and he started putting in more money. They kept paying him every week for 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and the client slowly in 10 weeks invested almost $50,000.
All right.
Now they are not picking up the phone.
There you go. So anyway, I just want to add one or two lines about this con artist Justin Costello. At the time when he was arrested in a remote area outside San Diego, right? Authorities say he was carrying a backpack containing $12,000 worth of gold bars.
Yep.
Okay, $60,000 in U.S. currency, $10,000 in Mexican pesos, and an ID featuring his photo, and of course someone else.
He was on a run. He was just trying to run away.
Absolutely.
And probably pesos indicate that he was planning to run away to Mexico.
Yeah, that's an easy place to run away. Anyway, we're not running away, but we're going to take a short break, because with that a bunch of stories, we come to an end of the first half of the Business Talk with AJ. When we come back, we got more interesting business stories for you. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the second half of the Business Talk with AJ right here on ITV Gold. As you know by now that this is the show brings you all the latest and the greatest business stories that you need to know from all over the world, and we are so happy to bring you these stories. And of course, we are so thankful to Science CPS Services for making this possible. Every week, the business stories in this show. Science CPS Services, once again, for your personal tax accounting needs or your professional, meaning if you have a business, any kind of business, from convenience store to a small size company, mid-size company, or a large company, and you are looking for a really, really good CPS to help you out with your taxes, Science CPS Services is the place that you should really go. They're trained and knowledgeable CPAs on hand. We'll talk to you over the phone or in-person meetings or a Zoom meeting. It's all possible. They have multiple locations in the state of New Jersey, and Science CPS Services, where they do your taxes right and they make sure that you get the refund that you're entitled to. 908-380-6876 is their phone number, and sciencecpsservices.com is their website. I strongly recommend to visit the website and make an appointment right now before they get super busy and before you realize that it's too late for you to find a tax accountant. So that's a Science CPS Services for you. AJ, the second half of the show, we always open up with the currency rate.
So the currency is going to go up. Currency rates are going down. Dollar is getting very, very strong right now. So it's 81.3, 81.4. In that range we have seen the whole week. We are expecting in next 30 days the rate to go back to 82.5, 82.4, 82.5. In next 90 days we are expecting the rate to remain over 82. Now under 80 is not expected. The new normal is around 82 going forward in the foreseeable future.
Okay, and the gold?
Absolutely. So the gold rate has increased tremendously. If you look at the last 3 months, now we are over 1900. If you remember, just 3 months ago, we used to talk about 1692, 1695, under 1700. The gold rate is sort of at a higher price. 2000 is the barrier. We are not expecting the gold rate to touch 2000. We are expecting the gold rate to actually go down. It may not go down to under 1700, but we are expecting in next 30 to 90 days the gold rate to be going down.
Okay, so that's the update for you that when it comes to gold and a currency rate. Now, let's say, even though the show is the Business Talk with AJ, but here is the Business Talk, and I'll tell you where is this business involved in this story. It has, of course, a glamour angle to it because it's from a Hollywood and it's related to Hollywood and movie production. The news just broke out, and when that news broke out just a day ago, it was everywhere all over, because after about a year and a half, this incident happened in October 2021. So after a year and 3-4 months, finally the authorities, the New Mexico authorities, have decided to charge Alec Baldwin, the movie star, the TV star. They're going to charge him with involuntary manslaughter. Okay, the crime of killing another human being unlawfully but unintentionally. Now, how it happened, this is the movie called Rust. Rust is the movie where they were filming it at a location in New Mexico. This is a low budget movie. So they were trying to control their production cost. Alec Baldwin being one of the producers of the film, obviously they were filming it. And the choreographer's name is Helena Hutchins, a very, very, very well-known choreographer and had a very promising career ahead. So they choreographed the scene with the director and everything else okay. And when they actually started to film the scene, Alec Baldwin's gun went off.
Wow.
And that hit Helena Hutchins, and she died. Now what happened was, on the sets, the real guns not allowed. Somehow the real guns, the bullets, the real bullets got mixed up with the fake bullets. And Alec Baldwin had a loaded gun which he did not know. So he said at the time of the shooting, he did not know. He thought it was a prop gun. Prop gun means a toy gun. It was a prop gun, and the prop guns usually, don't hurt anybody. So he did not know it was a loaded gun, and the scene was being shot, and then he pulled the trigger out, and boom, that was a real gun, and that killed Helena Hutchinson. So that's what happened. So finally, he's going to be charged with this involuntary manslaughter. And also, the person who was in charge of the armory on the set, that person is also charged in it, but that person is going to have some kind of plea bargain with the authorities and perhaps accept lesser charges. But Alec Baldwin will be criminally charged by New Mexico prosecutors for the 2021 fatal shooting of cinematographer. Now, why it's related to business story, AJ? Because Hollywood movies are, big budget movies. Absolutely. And the small budget movies. In the small budget movie, when you cut down the cost and when you compromise the cost with the other stuff like that, right? And this is exactly what their producer didn't want to spend too much money on having the safety protocol followed on the set, and that's exactly what's resulted into it.
Sometimes little bit of saving costs you a lot more than what you bargained for. Yep. So you have to be extremely careful what you sign up for.
And now, New Mexico authorities, they did their investigation. Federal authorities out of Virginia, FBI's, they did their investigation for 1 year and 3 months, and they said they have a very solid case against Alec Baldwin. And Alec Baldwin's lawyer says they have a solid arguments against this case. They think Alec Baldwin will be vindicated.
And I hope he does. But
so let's see what happens. Yeah. All right, now let's see what happens. That's perfectly fits for Donald Trump, who's going to try for his presidency for the third time. And we say, let's see what happens to his presidency. But now AJ is going to lead this story when we say Trump's company gets maximum punishment for evading taxes.
So this is a small thing. And this is just one of the many tax evasion that we are talking about. But being the first fine, even though it's not significant, it's only $1.6 million. I mean, from Trump's perspective, it's nothing.
Exactly.
But it has its meaning. Trump's organization being fined for tax evasion. That news is big. The amount may not be significant, and it's just one of the evasion that we are talking about. There are tons of these evasion. This evasion basically was, there were some perks, some benefits that were given to C-class officers that were not taxed. They were deducted from the books and they were not taxed to these individuals properly. And it's one of the multitude of tax evasions that the Trump organization did. But having a Trump organization paying a tax evasion fine is a start, and we will see how it goes, where it goes.
Let's see what happens. That's why I say that phrase perfectly fits Donald Trump. Absolutely. Let's see what happens to his presidency. Let's see. Oh, speaking of that, I just want to add one story. I just mentioned about Alec Baldwin's case. Donald Trump Jr. is under fire because he tweeted right after Alec Baldwin's news. He tweeted that now Alec Baldwin and Michael Avenatti, remember the lawyer attorney who actually stole money from 4 of his clients, millions of dollars? He's serving time in the prison. He's serving 10 years. So Donald Trump Jr. tweeted that Alec Baldwin will share a cell with Michael Avenatti.
Wow.
And he got a lot of criticism on Twitter.
It's immature. I mean, you're president's son. You don't have
to talk about father, you talk about son. I just wanted to add that thing. Absolutely. Anyway, let's move on. All right, it's time for you. It's time for us actually to bring stories from India. And here is such a great story. But before we that, I'm so sorry. Let's go. You talked about fines. Trump's companies being fined. Amazon faces $60,000 fine.
Well, it's just a compliance on the warehouse. It's a small amount of money for Amazon. It's sort of slap on the hand, make sure you don't do it again type of fine.
Yes.
They had some security protocols ignored in the warehouse, and Amazon is a warehouse company. I mean, they are a sort of an online retailer. So having a small warehouse find hopefully will teach them a lesson to follow the protocol.
But as far as I know, AJ, Amazon's warehouses in the nation, multiple warehouses have safety violations. Employees are unhappy. They have protested against it, and they've been, kicked out of the job and everything. So what I hear is Amazon's warehouse is not a safe place to work.
Well, we can't go there, but I know a lot of employees are not happy, and that you cannot be fined for it. Amazon really make you work, and it really breaks your back, and it's hard work picking up the boxes, loading the boxes, and you have certain number of boxes that you have to pick up. So there are a lot of protocols around. It's not an easy job, but the fine is all about ignoring the warehouse security protocols, and hopefully this will act as a lesson for Amazon to fix the problems, at least the security related problem, the safety related problems that Amazon is having in the warehouse.
All right, viewers, AJ talks about Amazon and the fine and violations and everything, and I'm going to share a good news about Amazon, that Amazon beats Apple to become world's most valuable brand at $299.3 billion. All right. So Amazon has beaten Apple to become the world's most valuable brand.
Most
so congratulations.
expensive, most valuable brand is Amazon today.
And for them, $60,000 fine.
Not a big deal.
Give me a break.
I hope it's a slap on the hand kind
All
of thing
right.
that fix everything.
Okay, almost at the end, let's bring in some good news. Let's talk about sports. India versus Sri Lanka. The highlights was obviously, India beat Sri Lanka in a one-day series. Then the first one day, India versus New Zealand. India barely won by 12 runs, even though scoring 349 runs, and New Zealand had to defend 350 runs. But they gave it such a wonderful fight from middle till the end. But India managed to win by 12
Absolutely.
runs.
So the Sri Lanka in their contest just folded up. India
Yes.
won by more than 300 runs, probably the highest margin for India ever.
Okay.
But New Zealand did give a good fight.
So
I mean,
let's see
the
what
beginning of the match, we felt, it's a one-sided game, but in the end, the margin was only 12 runs. It came so close, it could have gone either way. So thank God India won.
All right, and
happy India won.
Shubman Gill scored a double century. He
Absolutely.
became the youngest cricketer ever to score a double century in ODI. And with that note, we are actually exiting out because we are now completing the show, The Business Talk with AJ. AJ, thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
I am
Thank you.
Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and lucky days ahead. Until we meet again right here, same place, same time. Take care of yourself. So long.
Thank you.